All right. Thanks everyone so much for joining us for the Fall 2025 Catalyst and DICES informational webinar. We will introduce ourselves really quick and then I'll share our screen and we can go from there. So I'll start. My name is Mariana Miller. I'm a program administrator on the Tech to Market team, and I split my time between programs that work directly with startups and academics and programs that work with entrepreneur support organizations. So happy to be here, and I'll pass it to Katrina.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Katrina Damrell. I'm a program manager on Mass CEC's Tech to Market team, and I work on the Catalyst DICES grant program as well as Amplify Mass, so two of our earlier stage grants alongside Mariana. And I'll hand things over to Leslie if you want to hop in, Leslie.
Thanks, Katrina. Hi, everyone. My name is Leslie Nash. I'm the Senior Director on the Tech to Market team, supporting Katrina and Mariana on the work that they just introduced. And then we'll probably talk about this in the presentation, but we also offer later stage, growth stage programs that I also help support. So thanks for being here, and I'll pass it to Priya.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Priya Yadav. I'm a Vice President of Investments at Mass Ventures. Besides being part of the investment team at Mass Ventures, I also help manage the Catalyst and DICES program for Mass CEC and also support the Innovate Mass team with their projects post-award as a technical consultant, and very excited to be with all of you today.
Great. Thank you so much, Priya. I'll start sharing and we can go from here.
Thank you. Thanks, Mariana. Awesome. Okay, great. So thank you guys again for joining today for the Fall 2025 Catalyst DICES informational webinar. And we hope everyone out there is having a great Thursday. And also thank you for your time. And if you're watching this as a recording, thank you for your interest in applying to the Catalyst DICES grant program. We just did a round of intros. So again, I'm Katrina. Mariana is managing the Zoom room. And then Priya is here as well, VP of Investments for Mass Ventures. And then Leslie as well from our Tech to Market team at Mass CEC. And it's a fun program because we get to work on, it's a dual program between Mass CEC and Mass Ventures. So it's a fun collaborative effort between two different state quasi-agencies. So today I'll be going through a quick intro and overview of Mass CEC's mission, and then our other Tech to Market grant programs as well, and emerging climate tech. I'll hand things over to Priya, who can talk to Mass Ventures overview and mission, as well as how Catalyst and DICES operate. And then Mariana will wrap things up with funding opportunities. And at the end, we'll have time for Q&A. So you can go to the next slide, Mariana. So for Mass CEC, our mission is to accelerate the clean energy and climate solution innovation that's critical to meeting the Commonwealth's climate goals, while advancing Massachusetts' position as an international climate leader and growing our state's clean energy economy. So it's a very fun, dynamic organization. You can go to the next slide. And how do we achieve our climate goals? Through this kind of economic development and innovation. We have 4 different focus areas. So up in the top right corner is emerging climate tech. Catalyst and DICES sits within this division. It's kind of the nascent phase of innovation for climate tech. And we have a lot of different programs that support this ecosystem of incubators, accelerators, researchers, startups, all the way to companies that are really starting to get to commercial scale. Below that, we have clean energy. Oops. I'll just quickly touch upon, sorry, Mariana. We have additional programs in workforce development And we'll touch upon this a little bit later, but what we do often see for especially for Catalyst grantees is that these programs are really helpful for startups who might not have the budget yet for a full payroll. So this is a long-standing evergreen program for Mass CEC, but we do have an internship reimbursement program. And so Mariana will share more that Catalyst grantees will overlap. Then going clockwise, we have our offshore energy team. Sorry, Mariana, I'm not giving, yeah, anyways, offshore energy team that focuses heavily on offshore wind, but other areas as well, and accelerating decarbonization. So both of those teams have funding that is our funding kind of feeds into it in a way. So really a holistic approach to transforming the Massachusetts economy for the future. You can go to the next slide now. Thank you. So a brief, I guess, brag slide for Mass CEC. We've had significant impact since 2010 when we were really founded. We've awarded nearly $800 million through clean energy programs and investments, and that's leveraged over $2.8 billion in private and federal capital. Again, touting our workforce development programs, we have supported over 6,500 internships for college and vocational students, working with over 670 employers, and also nearly 70% of them were women and minority interns. So really, equity and justice is a core focus of how we operate our programs. And then again, another fun feature of Mass EC is its connection to offshore wind. So we have the Wind Technology Testing Center, which is based in Charlestown. If you guys are ever in that area, it's very cool to check out. And hence, we've done a lot of thorough testing wind turbines, as well as developing the infrastructure for port development. And we also have another program in renewable energy certificates as well. Okay, next slide. A double slide. Okay, here we go. This is a very useful image for the audience here. So it's a visual essentially for emerging climate tech's various levers and streams that we have, as well as on the bottom, the internship program, which is again managed by our workforce development division. Working from the bottom up, you can see that there's the technology readiness levels and the commercial stages, going from very early stage 1 all the way up to 10. And then on the y-axis being the funding amounts. So starting at the bottom here, we have Massachusetts Climate Tech Studio, which is a program that Mariana works on alongside our other coworker, Benedict. And that's for entrepreneur support organizations. And then above that is Catalyst DICES, which is the topic of our webinar, which is very exciting. It's our early stage grant program with grants for up to $75,000 for technologies that are being developed inside the Commonwealth in their early stage. So TRLs 2 through 4. And then above that, again, we have the Innovation Ecosystem Support Program. Again, entrepreneur support organizations. Amplify Mass, which is the other program that I operate that is traditionally used to help climate tech researchers and entrepreneurs leverage larger prime awards that are going towards climate tech research. And then Innovate Mass, which is a kind of a sister program to Catalyst DICES, but the later stage version of that, which also requires a demonstration stage. So Catalyst DICES is more early stage, building the prototype, and then Innovate Mass is more of the demo. And Then finally, we also have Critical Mass, which is active and live today, and the 2030 Investment Fund as well. All right, and now I'll hand things over to Priya.
Great, thanks, Katrina. So let me cover a little bit about Mass Ventures and what we do. Mass Ventures is the Commonwealth Strategic Venture Capital team. We've been very successful in fueling innovation in Massachusetts for almost 50 years now. At our core, we are a venture development firm. Our emphasis is on academic spinouts and building diverse teams that convert research and early stage ideas into companies. And we primarily look all across the Commonwealth when we invest. By providing not only financial resources, but also strategic direction, operational support, and access to our network of experts, we provide companies a greater chance of succeeding. We have a three-pronged focus between academic spinouts and our Accelerate on Capital programs. A few things I'll talk about each. From a capital standpoint, we provide seed and follow-on funding with board leadership and company support to Massachusetts-based deep tech startups. That very much includes climate tech. And our focus again is on academic spinouts, diverse teams, and diverse geographies. We've been managing a loan program funded by the EDA for 45 years. We structure these to be very friendly to founders, to provide bridge financing when companies are not quite ready for their next round of funding and may not be eligible for traditional venture debt. Our START program, we give grants again to Massachusetts-based startups to convert their research that was developed under SBIR or STTR contracts into businesses and jobs in Massachusetts. And again, award size here is up to 800,000 in 3 stages. So it's a very good grant program. From a technology acceleration standpoint, we have a commercialization accelerator where we have about 15 hours of instruction across 50 topics that companies can definitely benefit from, like patents and trademarks, executive leadership, business plans, sales and marketing, fundraising, you name it. And then we also have Launch Founder School, which is a pre-accelerator program. It is primarily meant for traditionally underfunded founders in the deep tech space. We manage that in partnership with the Mass Founders Network and VenX. And we will be kicking a 3rd cohort of this program shortly. It primarily gets you ready for accelerators or the next stage in your commercialization. And finally, from a Mass Ventures spin-out standpoint, we have 2 things in there I'll briefly touch upon. One is MASC. Primarily, it used to be formerly known as the Mass Tech Transfer Center. That is used to accelerate the adoption of new technology, expedite startup activity, and expand economic impact across the state. And through Marrow, which we administer, the members of Marrow are primarily the 30+ not-for-profit research institutions in the Commonwealth. So the mission here is to promote efficient and effective transfer of knowledge and technology from academic institutions to companies. So to summarize, our platform is an end-to-end support to you, right from pre-investment to exit. And we do that in the form of mentoring, business guidance, grants, investments, and follow-on funding. Next slide, Mariana. And this just basically shows how they all fit in, similar to Mass CEC, early to pretty late on how many of these programs can help you. Next slide, please. So now let's get into the crux of the Catalyst and DICES presentation. What are the Catalyst and DICES programs? Under the Catalyst program, we will award up to 7 climate tech technology grants of up to $75,000 per grantee. Mass CEC is committed to also providing funding opportunities to applicants who are underrepresented in the climate tech industry or have faced economic barriers entering the environmental or entrepreneurial landscape. So under the DICES program, we will award at least 3 climate tech technology grants of up to $75,000 per grantee. So 10 in total between the 2 programs. Both programs will grant, the grant recipients will receive technical and business support from both Mass CEC and Mass Ventures. Both these programs are targeted to Massachusetts-based early-stage companies and researchers who are at technology readiness levels 2 through 4 and that are looking to develop climate tech prototypes. Students, if you are a student, you're welcome to apply, but you have to do that with a PI or a principal investigator if you are working on a climate tech innovation project. We run this program twice a year, spring and fall. So if the timing is not good for you right now, then consider waiting until the spring to apply. Our current round for fall 2025 is open, and we are accepting proposals through 11:59 p.m. EDT on September 30th. But please don't wait until then to submit your proposal. I always get one or two that, can submit because they try to submit at exactly 11:59 and the tool locks them out. So submit early, as early as you can. And then we will have a two-step competitive application / review process where written reviews come first. And if you are selected as a finalist after the written review process, you will be invited to pitch to our panel of external reviewers along with the Mass CEC and the Mass Ventures teams, after which up to 10 winners will be awarded these grants. Next slide, please. So program benefits, there are plenty of program benefits. If you are selected to pitch as a finalist after the written review stage, you will get complimentary pitch coaching and business mentoring from Mass Ventures. If you are awarded the grant, then you will get access to a vast network of partners, both from Mass CEC and Mass Ventures. You'll get a lot of expert insight into the local climate tech policy and markets, along with a lot of mentoring from both our organizations. We also offer optional quarterly check-ins with grantees. So if you need to connect with us anytime during the program, you can do that through these optional check-ins. They're not mandatory, so you don't have to talk to us if you don't want to. You can just do what is required through the program. But sometimes grantees, things happen, pivots may be needed, and we offer these as avenues for you to reach out to us and check in with us. So basically, again, if you're raising funds, and Mariana will cover more about this, you could always talk to the Mass CEC investment team and the Mass Ventures investments team to see if there could be a fit. So lots of great benefits from being part of either of these programs. Next slide, please. Now, application requirements, let's talk about that. We ask that you provide the following information. We definitely want to see an overview of your technology and why do you think it's important. Give us some insight on the commercialization potential of your technology, what market research you have done, any customer discovery that you've done. Clearly explain to us what your proposed business model is. We definitely also need to see the climate tech benefits. This is a very important criteria, and we need to see a solid case made for the same in your application. By benefits, climate tech benefits, we need to have detail and clarity that you have demonstrated in your proposal on the potential reduction in greenhouse gas emissions or the avoidance of future greenhouse gas emissions achievable, including any efficiency improvements you're able to show with your technology, for example. We also need you to provide details about what you plan to do with the grant funding. So what milestones do you expect to hit? What are you trying to do, when and how? So select your project very carefully, and then we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few slides. But we also expect a project budget summary. Show us how you plan to allocate your $75,000 budget if you got the grant. And finally, provide us information on all your team members so we understand not just the technical, but also the business composition of your team. Do you have people who span both skill sets? And do you have any advisors? Who are they? So all these items need to be included. We've given you a template. for the online application. So just provide us all this information and follow the template very carefully. Next slide, please. So prototype, what do we mean by that? Going by the literal definition, as you see, it's primarily a first, typical or preliminary model of something, especially a machine from which other forms are developed or copied. So it is not basic research. We are looking for an early stage technology design, development, and validation of your innovation. You can test a concept that you've come up with or use it to evaluate your design, but we need to see that you are creating something beyond just ideation. So show us a real working system or product, and you could also be generating data to validate your invention. So next slide, what are we looking for? We want you to tell us a good, clear story. A proposal that has a high likelihood of success would have the following attributes. For technical merit, your technology should be promising. It should be new. It should be disruptive. We're not looking for new ways to repurpose something that's already existing. Rather, we're looking for novel disruptive technologies or solutions that you have developed. From a commercialization perspective, we want you to show us that you have a good value proposition and that your target market is large and or growing. You have done your customer discovery, as I mentioned before, so you know who your customer is, you know what they want, and what you're doing, you're essentially going to be able to deliver it. For those who are targeting a smaller market, we encourage applicants who are confident that they can address the needs of that targeted market. For the project plan, the project selected should be achievable within the timeline of 1 year and the budget constraints that we have provided. Your results that you demonstrate should be meaningful towards the next step of your commercialization plan. This is not a 1-year project and you're done with it. The expectation is that you've come up with something and you're going to be able to commercialize it. So the journey will continue beyond Catalyst and DICES. And you should also have a knowledgeable team who know how to commercialize your technology. Now, we also need the technology to fit our program. So what we are looking for is basically technologies with climate and clean energy impacts that can demonstrate potential for measurable climate impacts through the reduction of fossil fuel usage. So the proposal you submit should also demonstrate a high likelihood that will be able to attract follow-on funding. It should be a good qualifier for market entry. By this, we mean that if you're a university project, you should be able to demonstrate that you have a pathway to industrial relevance. And for early stage companies, show us that you have a compelling and a competitive product in your target market that will attract private investment. So as we mentioned also in the RFP for this grant cycle, while Catalyst and DICES funding may be used to support prototype development of any technology or proposed business model that meets Mass CEC's definition of climate tech, and for this, I would highly encourage you to, again, go back to the RFP and see how it's defined in section 1 of the RFP. We do want to say that particular emphasis will be placed on identifying projects in one or more of the following areas: high level, energy and electricity, transportation, manufacturing and industry, agriculture and water, buildings, and resilience and adaptation. Next slide, please. So now DICES, a little bit about DICES. So Mass CEC, as I mentioned, is very committed to providing funding opportunities to applicants who are either underrepresented in the climate tech industry or may have faced economic barriers entering the environmental or entrepreneurial landscape. So the DICES program is targeted specifically to provide access to funding and opportunities for those who can speak to how their lived experiences or economic context has caused barriers when they have been trying to enter the climate tech industry. Next slide, please. So to be eligible for DICES. A few examples of such barriers or experiences may include, but they're not just limited to, one, the applicant has experienced direct underrepresentation in the climate tech ecosystem in Massachusetts. The applicant has not received substantial support, especially compared to other applicants towards the commercialization of their climate tech project or their research. Thirdly, the applicant has experienced economic barriers to accessing or receiving capital for seed funding. Next slide, please. So how do you apply if you qualify for DICES? So basically, note that all applicants to the DICES program are subject to the same eligibility requirements for the Catalyst program. Okay, so please fill out all the questions for the Catalyst application. They're the same for DICES, but in addition, for DICES, you must fill out section 2 in the application form, which is your DICES statement. That has to be there for you to be considered for this program. And you have to meet the intent of the DICES program as described in the RFP. The RFP for both these programs is very exhaustive, very clear. So we highly encourage you to read it once, read it twice if you don't get it, and then ask us questions if you have any, because I mean, we do expect you to meet the requirements for both programs before you apply. Yeah, next slide, please. So timeline and logistics, I think this is coming to the end of my talk. So go to the Mass CEC website or even the Mass Ventures website where you can find the RFP and the online application portal link. The due date for applications for fall 2025 is September 30th, before midnight, well before midnight if possible. After an eligibility screen, once we get your applications in, which the Mass CEC team will do with Mass Ventures, the applications will be sent out to our external reviewers. They will be reviewing your applications, and anybody that gets picked as a finalist, once we get the written reviews back, we will invite you to pitch. And the notification for the finalists, we will be making those in early November. And once you're selected as a finalist, we will provide pitch coaching sessions from then on, leading up to a few days before pitch days. That will be scheduled in early December. The finalists will do their pitch presentations to a panel of judges, and winners will be notified of their award status in January. So this is the timeline. If you are not selected at either stage, we will provide you with exhaustive written feedback. We ask our reviewers to provide that at each stage, which can hopefully help you determine if this is the right grant, these are the right grants for you, or if you just get feedback that, hey, you could improve your application because this was not clear, or you may not have thought of something that when you submitted your application, then use that feedback constructively and come back and submit a stronger application if you choose to do so the next time around. And then if you have any questions, please reach out. We are happy to clarify any part of the program. The clearer you are with what we want, the stronger your proposal will be. And then next slide is basically some of our most recent grantees. So I'll let you stare at it for a little bit. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to say in closing that the Catalyst and DICES programs are terrific programs. A lot of our past grantees, you see our most recent grantees, but you know, if you look through the history of all the grantees who have gone through these programs, they have done incredibly well. They've gone on to participate in other Mass CEC programs. They've raised follow-on funding, and they are successfully commercializing their technology. So we really look forward to your applications. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us for this part of the program. And I'll turn it over to Mariana.
Great. Thank you, Priya. So we will be talking briefly about all the other Mass CEC programs that were on that graphic earlier, and we'll start with Innovate Mass. So Innovate Mass is a program designed to provide support to startup companies as they deploy their first demonstration projects. This program provides grants of up to $350,000 with the caveat that the company must provide between 25 to 50% of the cost share of their award. So for example, if you applied and were awarded $350,000, you might have to provide up to $175,000 in cost share, which can be a combination of in-kind and cash support. You will receive technical and business support from Mass CEC and Mass Ventures during the course of the program, and applications are accepted on a rolling basis. We have 3 cohort deadlines per year. So for example, we have our next due date on October 20th, and all of the applications that we receive up until October 20th, we will hold and review all at once. Eligibility. So you can be a Massachusetts-based startup and have a demo site anywhere, or if you are a non-Massachusetts-based startup, your demo site must be in Massachusetts. This is open to companies with technologies in TRLs 5 through 8. And you, as the company and your pilot demonstration partner, would come to Mass CEC as a pair, and you would apply to Innovate Mass with that pilot demonstration partner that you chose. There's a competitive 2-step application process that's very similar to the Catalyst program. You submit a written application. That application is reviewed by Mass CEC and external subject matter experts who are our reviewers. There are finalists chosen from the initial application pool, and those finalists get to pitch at a virtual pitch day to Mass CEC and those external reviewers. So please put any questions you have about that in the chat and we can answer them after. Here are some recently awarded Innovate Mass projects similar to Catalyst. I'll just give you a couple seconds to look through them and then I'll move on. The next program that we'll go over is called Amplify Mass. And this program supports young Massachusetts-based companies and researchers on federal and non-federal prime awards via cost share or adder grants. So basically many awards, whether they're from the National Science Foundation, Department of Energy, or many other grants, require some form of cost share, which we are aware can be a prohibitive aspect for really young companies with not a lot of capital. So we want to support companies and researchers in further developing their technology by providing up to $300,000 in cost share. Or if you have a grant that doesn't require cost share, but you want to expand the scope of that grant and do more testing or more customer validation or something, we also can provide up to $300,000 for adder funding. So applications for this program are accepted on a rolling basis, and they must be submitted to Mass CEC before the primary funding is contracted if the application is for cost share funding. If the application is for adder funding, then of course you would already be contracted with your prime and we can take your application at any time before the contract with the prime ends. For eligibility, companies must be a small business and be based in Massachusetts. There are more details about what qualifies as a small business in the RFP, which you can find on our website. And Massachusetts-based universities or nonprofits are also eligible. And technologies between TRLs 2 and 8 are eligible. So this application process is you submit a written application and Mass CEC has an internal committee and we send each application out to be reviewed by a subject matter expert, and then we review the written application and receive advice from the external reviewer and make our award decision based on that. This program is really meant to leverage federal or other prime funding and help Massachusetts-based companies get as much financial support as they can. So again, please let me know if you have any questions in the chat. And here are some recently awarded projects from Amplify Mass. Moving on to our newest program called Critical Mass. Critical Mass is a program designed to help scaling climate technologies, scale climate technologies and accelerate commercialization. So this grant is for up to $1 million. And as part of the program, you receive a support service advisor and entrepreneur in residence to really help support the project demonstration. So this program is somewhat similar to Innovate Mass in that it's meant to help fund a demonstration project. But a key difference is that instead of coming with your own pilot demonstration partner, which you would do in Innovate Mass, in Critical Mass, we do a matchmaking process with corporate, university, and municipal deployment partners. So if you go on the Critical Mass page on our website, you can see a list of the deployment partners that we have for this current round, see their problem statements, and you can see if your technology may fulfill some of those problems. For timing, this is an annual solicitation. As I said before, it's a brand new program, and we are in the middle of our first round in summer 2025. The applications are due September 22nd. And as for eligibility, this program is open to any US-based startup as long as their project will be based in Massachusetts. And it is for TRL 8 and up. So if you're on this call, I'm betting you're more between TRL 2 and 4, but something to definitely be thinking about for the future. And moving on to some of our ecosystem support grant programs. So as we touched on before, Mass CEC has various programs that support startups and academics directly, which we just talked about. And the other half of what we do is we support ecosystem support organizations. So that could be incubators, accelerators, academic labs, anyone who might put on programming that could be helpful to startups. We also want to support them. So we have a couple programs that we use to do that. The first one is called the Innovation Ecosystem Program, and it is to support Massachusetts-based climate tech incubators, accelerators, and other entrepreneur support organizations so that they can give you, the startups and academics, the best programming in Massachusetts. So I won't go into the funding details for this since it's not applicable to you all, but it's just nice for you to know that we also do this. And if you are a newer startup or academic, you might not be, familiar with the difference between an accelerator and an incubator. So here's a good Venn diagram for you. Accelerators are typically fixed duration, so anywhere between 6 weeks to a year, with intense cohort-based programming, and there's typically a pitch competition or some sort of prize and award at the end of the program. Incubators are open-ended duration, and they typically have a monthly or annual fee-based system. This is for anyone who's developing a physical product and may need lab space, like a wet lab, co-working space, fabrication lab, things like that. And as you can see, they both offer training, mentorship, business support, and are often competitive, especially in climate tech in Massachusetts. Here are some examples of the incubators and accelerators that Mass CEC supports. The top two boxes are fiscal year 24 grantees of Mass CEC's Innovation Ecosystem Program. So we'd be happy to facilitate connections with any of these organizations. And the bottom two boxes are additional accelerators and incubators in Massachusetts. They range everywhere from Greater Boston area, North Shore, Southeast, Central Mass, and Western Mass. So we've really got the whole state covered, which is great. All right, and as we briefly touched on earlier, Mass CEC also offers investment opportunities. And the Mass CEC Investment Fund is called the 2030 Fund. It is a $50 million total fund size, and the typical first check size is anywhere from $250,000 to $500,000. So some of the differentiating factors of the 2030 Fund from other investors is that we are a high risk tolerance and early investor. We have extensive in-house expertise at Mass CEC, and we consider this investments program to be a great pairing for other Mass CEC programs, such as the grants that we talked about earlier. We are right at the intersection of public and private innovation. So we have great government and municipal connections, and we also are very close with our corporate partners and corporate VC co-investors. We have an extensive co-investor network. And so oftentimes, even if we don't end up investing in someone, we connect them with many other investors. We have avoided over 62 million metric tons of CO2 through the 2030 Funds portfolio companies, created over 500 jobs, and leveraged over $1.3 billion in additional capital. So you can see our portfolio companies at this link in the bottom right. It's just masscec.com/2030 fund. Or if you have a pitch deck that you want to send to the investments team, you can send it to invest@masscec.com. We fund technologies in clean transportation, offshore grid, net zero grid, high performance buildings, and other decarbonization areas such as adaptation and resilience, which were recently added to our mandate by the state. So yeah, please ask any questions in the chat if you have any, and I will move on to workforce funding opportunities. So the Mass CEC Clean Energy Internship Program is funded by Mass CEC to employ student workers at climate tech startups in Massachusetts. There's a QR code which you can all scan, or you can type it into your browsers later to learn more information about the internship program. But the reason that this program was started is because Mass CEC wants to create a pipeline of capable and qualified clean energy and climate workers. And so we want to really support these students in finding jobs in the industry. Some logistics and numbers about this program. There are 3 sessions per year. There's a spring session, which is January to May or January to June, a summer session, which is June to August, and a winter session, which is September to December. So it follows kind of the academic calendar year. Companies may host up to 3 interns per session, with the caveat that if you host 3 interns per session, one of them must be from a Massachusetts-based community college. There are 30 spots reserved for students and companies located in gateway cities, which if you're not familiar, there are 26 cities in the state of Massachusetts that have suffered economic downturn after manufacturing left the state. Those are gateway cities. I welcome you to definitely look into them if you're interested. But for some details about the program itself, Mass CEC will reimburse reemployers for the 12 weeks of an intern's work at the host company. So as all of you are earlier stage companies, I would definitely recommend keeping that in mind in terms of cash flow. You would have to be able to pay the intern for the full 12 weeks and then be reimbursed by Mass CEC at the end. So Mass CEC will reimburse employers at the end of the session. As you can see at the bottom left, the cap is $4,300 per intern for spring and fall, because we usually consider that to be a part-time internship, as we're assuming that they would be in school at that time as well. And $8,640 for a summer internship, which would be a full-time position. Over the years, we have placed over 5,000 interns at more than 6,000 companies, and over 1,000 of those students have gained full or part-time employment at their host companies after the conclusion of the internship, which really just underscores that we are creating a workforce pipeline and we are supporting the next generation of climate tech workers in the state. Just to give you a little bit of the a sense of how competitive or how highly subscribed this program is, 283 companies and 1,100 students applied for the summer 2023 session alone. So this is a first come, first serve program. So I definitely encourage you all to go on the portal that you see on the top right bullet and make an account. You can post your job descriptions usually 2 months before the start of any session. So for example, the spring 2026 session portal will open in November. So definitely encourage you all to try and take advantage of that and look into it. And that is the end of our presentation. So I'll stop sharing and we can go through any questions in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you, Mariana. I know there was a lot of info at the end, so thank you so much for walking us through it. And we welcome everybody's questions. While we have some time here for Q&A, I'm going to go ahead and read the ones that we've received so far, starting from the top. So we have a question right now from Actura, which is a Rhode Island-based company whose founder is originally from Massachusetts with a PhD from MIT. Our technology is TRL4 and is aimed at decarbonizing the chemical industry. Are we eligible for any of the subject grant programs? Leslie, thank you for staying on top of the questions as they rolled in. So as Leslie wrote, our RFP defines the eligibility for mass-based startup companies as the company's primary manufacturing operations, if applicable, headquarters, primary sales and marketing, and primary research and development operations must be located in Massachusetts.
Yes, I would just second that and say for the Catalyst grant program, if you're not based in Massachusetts, unfortunately, you would not be eligible. But once you are at TRL 5 to 8, you could definitely consider the Innovate Mass program. And even though you're not based in Massachusetts, if you found a partner demonstration spot in Massachusetts, you could be eligible for that.
Yeah, correct. Thank you, Mariana. Yeah, it's great. Great context. Chastity has a question here. I made shades protection against UV protection, easy setup, lightweight, no plastic waste. Therefore, everyone, including children, can carry and set up their own shade. I'm extremely low income and on public assistance. Who wants to prove rags to riches is a real thing. There's nothing lightweight and easy like this. Leslie, again, and echoing that, thank you for sharing and let us know if you have any questions. Chastity.
Before you go in order, the question asker followed up later with just clarifying the question, which was, is that product eligible? So since we'll just stick with the same person. And I did type in there that based on the description you provided, it sounds like this would be a buildings related tech, which is certainly one of the areas that we list as eligible climate technologies in our RFP. So I encourage you to read the whole RFP and make sure you are eligible per the other eligibility criteria, but based on what you provided, it sounds like that technology would be. So thanks. Katrina, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Leslie. And then the other question that we've received was more of a strategy question. So Mass CC has previously focused on particular themes or verticals within the climate and tech space on which the state is focused, for example, offshore wind, port development. Is there any additional insight that we could share about how these themes are still priorities given the uncertainty of these industries locally when the federal government is making them tough? So as Leslie dropped in here, while Catalyst or DICES may be used, funding may be used to support prototype development of any technology that meets Mass EC's definition of climate tech, particular emphasis will be placed on identifying projects in one or more of the following areas. Again, there's 6 core areas that we're interested in. And then furthermore, reiterating that Mass CC is committed to supporting climate tech and clean energy in the Commonwealth. So thank you, Jonathan, for that question. We have another question here that just arrived. So is carbon capture, utilization, and storage eligible for either program? Yes, it would definitely be eligible. That would most likely, we've seen other technologies apply with carbon capture. And to answer your question, Pedro, I think that would fall under the manufacturing and industry area, as Leslie mentioned. So I'm just going to copy and paste what Leslie wrote and reply to your question here. Oh, Wait, maybe you beat me to it, Leslie.
Sorry, I just said we answered it live.
Yes.
Everyone should have access to the Q&A, I think, so they'll be able to see. And it's verbatim from the RFP, our list of 6 areas, and carbon capture is under manufacturing and industry, as Katrina mentioned, and energy storage is definitely eligible.
Great. Well, yeah, definitely encourage any more questions to put them in the chat. Oh, perfect.
Okay. The next question here is, are the priorities you listed true for all of the Mass EC programs or just Catalyst DICES? So
They are, oh,
yeah,
sorry.
go for it.
Thought you
Go for it,
paused.
Mariana.
These priorities are given to us by the Massachusetts State Legislature. So these are applicable to all of the startup or academic facing grant programs that Mass EC has. So all of the programs that we talked about today, it's the same priorities.
I think Katrina and Mariana mentioned this at the top of the call, but just a reminder for folks that we will be posting the recording and the slides and all the Q&A that we receive and respond with between now and the end of the question period. So if you maybe didn't think of a question today, feel free to send it over email, and then we're going to aggregate everything and post everything on our website so everyone has all the same information in case that's useful to you. So
Yes, and just reiterating that the question period closes at midnight on Tuesday, September 16th. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email us before that time. Unfortunately, if you do ask us after, we're just going to have to point you to the webpage. So definitely be proactive if possible with your questions. And with that, I think if we have no more questions, we can probably wrap up. So thanks everyone for taking the time, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank
Thanks,
you, guys.
everyone.